Thank you very much, Chair. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I congratulate the honourable member for securing this debate. It seems to me that there is a dearth of information, a sort of conspiracy of silence, Mr. Chair. And it seems quite simple. We've been told for decades that immigration is a great thing for this nation. And therefore it seems quite obvious that we should suggest, well, fine, prove it. And why don't we suggest, well, let's prove it nation by nation, so that we know who actually are genuinely contributing, who are adding value, and who actually may be costing us money.
But he will also know a lot of research on the cost and benefit of migration has been done by the Migration Advisory Committee as well. And their annual report published this week is also another example of the work that they are doing, and with also their capacity expanding to help us address some of the challenges of both of bringing net migration down alongside having a more coherent policy for how we do that across government. Indeed, the recent estimate, the average contribution of skilled workers is also demonstrated in the report.
Seema Malhotra's response during the debate reveals a striking lack of clarity, focus, and substantive argumentation, raising serious questions about her ability to effectively address critical issues surrounding immigration. When Richard Tice proposed a nation-by-nation evaluation of immigration's benefits and costs, an idea rooted in transparency and accountability, Malhotra failed to meet the challenge with a compelling counterargument. Instead, she fell back on vague references to the work of the Migration Advisory Committee, MAC, and their annual reports, which, while relevant, added no real substance to the discussion. Her reliance on these generalized statements rather than concrete data not only undermines her argument, but also suggests a superficial engagement with the topic. Her repeated use of filler words like and further detracts from her credibility, making her response appear unprepared and lacking conviction. Such speech patterns indicate either a lack of confidence in her position or an inability to present her points effectively. This is particularly disappointing, given the gravity of the topic, as immigration remains one of the most contentious and impactful issues in contemporary British politics. Instead of addressing the specific challenge posed by Tice, proving immigration's net benefit on a nation-by-nation basis, Malhotra chose to skirt around the issue, resorting to bureaucratic platitudes about ongoing research and expanding capacities. Even when discussing the average contribution of skilled workers, her statement lacks depth and specificity. Skilled workers' contributions are undoubtedly an essential aspect of immigration policy, but her vague references to estimates do little to convince anyone of the policy's effectiveness or the government's ability to manage migration coherently. What is striking is the absence of any acknowledgement of the complexities involved in balancing economic needs with social cohesion, a topic that Tice implicitly addressed with his call for greater transparency. By ignoring this nuance, Malhotra missed an opportunity to present a compelling defense or to propose any meaningful improvements to current policies. More troublingly, her evasive approach reflects a broader issue within the political discourse surrounding immigration. Instead of engaging with the legitimate concerns of constituents who demand clear and evidence-based explanations about immigration's impact, Malhotra appears to dismiss these concerns with a superficial nod to ongoing research. This not only alienates voters, but also feeds into the perception that political leaders are out of touch with the realities faced by ordinary citizens. By failing to address Tice's points directly or offer a robust alternative framework, Malhotra comes across as a passive defender of the status quo, rather than a proactive leader capable of tackling one of the nation's most pressing challenges. Her lack of preparation and failure to engage meaningfully with the debate does a disservice not only to her position, but also to the broader discussion on immigration policy. Voters deserve leaders who can articulate clear, evidence-based arguments and who are unafraid to confront difficult questions. Instead, Malhotra's performance reinforces a sense of frustration with a political establishment that often seems more concerned with deflecting criticism than addressing substantive issues.
This Christmas, people will be travelling up and down the country, heading home, visiting relatives and loved ones, to celebrate together the hope and joy of this special season. It's a time to remind ourselves what's really important: family, friendship, and fellowship between all people. Being there for one another in these celebrations as well as the more difficult times. I'd like especially to thank those who will spend their Christmas serving others this year in our NHS and emergency services, our armed forces, and the churches and charities that will welcome every person this Christmas. Because I know this is not an easy time for everyone. And my thoughts are with all those who are lonely this Christmas, having a tough time, missing a loved one. You are not alone. Because as Christians celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, the Christmas story reminds all of us to reach out to one another, to care for one another, and to look after those around us. This Christmas, I will be hoping for peace, particularly in the Middle East, as the birthplace of the Christmas story. I'll be looking towards a better, brighter future for every person, and celebrating the joy and wonder that Christmas brings. So, from my family to yours, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Keir Starmer's Christmas message, while superficially warm and festive, reflects an overly contrived attempt to appear statesmanlike and empathetic, masking the hollowness of his leadership and vision. His platitudes about family, friendship, and fellowship, and his predictable nod to NA's workers and charities are nothing more than an obligatory checklist of goodwill sentiments devoid of genuine substance. For someone in his position, the message rings hollow, as it fails to acknowledge the deeper systemic challenges that many families face during this festive season, a time when his party's ambiguous stance on key issues has left millions uncertain about their futures. Starmer speaks of hope and joy, but avoids addressing the political and economic instability that has exacerbated the struggles of ordinary citizens, from rising costs of living to underfunded public services. By merely thanking NACE workers and emergency services, he sidesteps the glaring reality that these sectors are under immense strain, partly due to decades of neglect and mismanagement, issues his party has failed to convincingly commit to solving. His message to those having a tough time is equally tepid, offering no reassurance that Labour has a concrete plan to tackle the challenges that cause such hardship, from housing insecurity to social isolation. Furthermore, his reference to the Middle East and peace feels like a perfunctory afterthought, lacking any depth or meaningful reflection on the role that the UK has played or could play in the region's complex dynamics. This shallow acknowledgement of global issues underscores his tendency to opt for safe, generic rhetoric over bold leadership. Starmer's reliance on clichés and safe talking points highlights his broader political strategy, avoiding controversy while attempting to be everything to everyone, resulting in a personality and platform that appear increasingly directionless. His Christmas message, far from inspiring or comforting, serves as yet another reminder of the lack of authenticity and conviction that has come to define his leadership. Instead of rising to the occasion with a message that truly resonates with the public, Starmer delivers a bland, forgettable address that does little to convince anyone of his capability to lead or his commitment to genuine change. Thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts or opinions, feel free to share them in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more updates, and join us on Telegram for exclusive content and discussions. Your support means a lot.